my name is Eddie C, and welcome to My Positive Podcast. I'll bring you positive stories of people from all walks of life, because everyone has a story to tell. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MPP. I'm your host, Eddie C, and this is My Positive Podcast. This is episode 10, and we're going to be talking about growth. It seems so amazing that I just started this podcast a couple of months ago, and I've had so many nice conversations with so many people. And this episode is also going to be special with 3 wonderful guests. I've got one guest who's working for a Biotech company, but is also a world traveler. Another guest who's busy with taking his music outside of the box, working with young people and creating a whole new sound. And my third guest decided when she was 11 years old to go out and make choices for herself. And her roots are coming from India. So if you're curious about their stories, tune in and stay positive. My name is Eddie C, and you're listening to My Positive Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest loves to travel, explore the world and other cultures. She enjoys reading, writing, and admits to be a little bit snobbish about her coffee. She lives by Maya Angelou's quote, which reads, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive. And to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." Please welcome my first guest, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Anke Sunaert. Hi, Anke.
Hello, Eddie.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm doing fine. We've got beautiful weather over here now in Europe for a few days. So the sun is always a positive energy bomb for all of us, you know.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in Amsterdam?
Yeah, of course. Be happy to. So my name is Anke. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Brussels, in the Flemish part, so in Belgium. And as a teenager, I wanted to become a stewardess because I wanted to travel. But then in the end, I decided to study communications with the intention to become a travel journalist. That didn't quite work out, but I did somehow land in the field of human resources and have stayed there ever since after graduating. And
sorry to interrupt you for a second. Why did the traveling thing, it didn't work out? Was it a choice that you made yourself?
No. Well, I did an internship at a magazine, and I found the job to be very lonely. Because the writing process is sort of a lonely process. You're not that much in touch with other people. And so after that internship, I decided to change course and to choose classes that were more oriented towards internal communications within business.
Okay. Wow. You did that. And then how did that evolve that you went coming out of Belgium to end up in Holland?
Yeah, well, it's a long story, but I'll keep it short.
We've got time, so.
Okay. So, after graduating, I was looking for a job in communications, but without any experience. It's very hard to land a job. So I was just looking around, and I needed an income. So I landed a job at Randstad. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got to know and got to be interested in human resources, which still has a lot of touch points with internal communications because you're in touch and communicate a lot with employees in companies.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about the thing with the traveling, because I want to get back to that again. Were there a lot of places that you've seen in your young age?
Thank you. I think I do. I've traveled quite a bit to almost all continents. I just really enjoy the experience. I hate the flights and everything. If there was one superpower I could choose, then it would be teleportation, so I could just arrive somewhere. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I've been traveling to the US quite a bit for work. to South America, within Europe, of course, a couple of countries in Africa.
What were some of the places you went to in the United States?
Mostly along the East Coast, and then to the cities, really. So Chicago, Boston, New York, a couple of times, Miami.
Hey, Chicago, that's close.
Yeah,
that's close to where I'm from. Wow. From your travels, what was basically your favorite place if you had to choose?
That's a very difficult question.
Give me your top three.
Top three. I like different places for different reasons. I love Brazil and Argentina for the joie de vivre. I love Asia for also for the culture and the food. And I like a lot of European cities for the history and the beauty of the architecture.
Okay. In Brazil, where did you go when you were in Brazil? But did you travel all over Brazil, or was it the major cities? Or did you go up north to Bahia? Or
everything basically in a really short time window of 3 weeks. So that was an exhausting trip. I've done longer solo trips 2 years ago when I traveled for 4 months, and then spent 2 months in Argentina and Chile and 2 months in India.
Okay, wow, yeah, Brazil is a very nice country. I've been to Sao Paulo, so it's a gigantic city, really a massive population. But the Coprinha as well, so nice. Well, can you tell me a little bit more about your work function? You're working for a biotech company as a senior manager.
Yeah. So coming back to the first question on how I ended up in Amsterdam, well, that was because I was working at the time for Leel-Össy, and in 2015. Leel-Össy and Ahold announced the intention to merge.
And Deleuze is a food company, right? Like a grocery store company.
Correct. Both Leel-Össy and Ahold are international food retailers. Leel-Össy was founded in Belgium, Ahold in the Netherlands, but both had presence alongside the east coast of the US, in Europe, and some, but very limited, in Asia.
Okay.
And so when they merged back in 2016, I was offered a role in the global headquarters that was then since then stationed in Zaandam, which is north of Amsterdam.
Right.
So that's how I ended up in Amsterdam, and I've been loving it ever since.
That's a beautiful city. I lived in Holland, of course, for almost 38 years. So I've seen a lot of Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Great place to place.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very pretty.
A lot of Americans refer to Amsterdam as a sort of a Madeira Dam of Europe, because it's compact, but it's really small, actually.
It's very small. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very small place. The company that you're working for, you're working a lot with genetic immune cells targeted on tumors. Can you go a little bit deeper into that for me?
So I currently work as a senior learning and development manager for a biotech company. And they produce cell therapies for people with different kinds of blood cancers. So they take blood from the patient, re-engineer and manipulate it so their own blood will attack the cancer cells.
Wow.
And that's a very innovative therapy that has solid success rates and a lot of future capability.
Wow. Are you working in a laboratory itself, or?
A lot of the people in the company they work in labs, in clean rooms, because the product is, of course, very, very delicate. I don't have any educational background nor any expertise in microbiology or cell therapy or the pharmaceutical background or anything. What I do, I design, I develop, and I deliver training programs that are related to leadership and management skills. And those skills are not tied to the technical expertise that these people have. Those are more transferable skills, so to speak.
You're actually preparing them for going into the lab, or?
No, that would also be very, very technical. I predominantly work with leadership, so people that lead teams of, for example, cell therapy specialists that work in the lab. And we help them develop their leadership capability. So, for example, that might mean giving feedback, having effective meetings, cross-cultural communications, coaching, leading people through change. So that sort of topics.
Okay, sort of a public relation.
Interpersonal skills, yeah. But what I like about it, because they're professional skills, but they're also life skills. You can also use them in any area of your personal life as well. So that's how it also connects, for me at least, to growth and to personal development.
You know, this company that you're working for, how was it affected during the COVID period that we hopefully have slowly behind us?
So my focus is on the Netherlands, but the company as such has been affected mostly in the US in terms of production and manufacturing. I think here in Europe, it has mostly affected employees because of the change from being on site to working from home. And all the differences that come with that.
So it must have been devastating, especially for the lab workers.
They are required to go on site. They don't work from home. That's not possible.
Yeah.
So for them, it didn't change much.
How has the whole COVID thing affected you over the last, say, year and a half?
Yeah, everything. Yeah. So I joined this company back in November. And I went to the office for the first time 2 weeks ago. So I've onboarded entirely remotely. And yeah, I think it's still possible to build connections with people online. But it's definitely, it doesn't replace it. It's not the same. People are social animals. And being isolated for such a long time is I think hard on people. I don't think we realize yet what will be the long-term psychological effects of this pandemic on people, and especially young people that are still growing and developing. Yeah,
I was going to bring that up. I think that I'm from a generation, of course, before the so-called smartphones came on the market, and and let's say the generation behind you, they all grew up with a Game Boy or some kind of electronic device in their hands growing up as already as little kids. I think in one way, the pandemic it's been, of course, devastating for everybody. But I think on the other hand, it is probably giving us some time to come in touch with ourselves as individuals, to kind of go do a little bit soul searching. I don't know, how has that been for you?
It's been tough. Because I'm an introvert, but I do like to have just the dynamic and the energy of people around me. But I do agree that it has sort of forced people to take a step back and reflect on how they lead their life or lead the rat race. And hopefully if that could be a positive outcome, also in terms of growth, it starts with raising your self-awareness and knowing yourself really well. So if that is the result of the pandemic, that people maybe make different choices to make sure that the life choices that they make are more in alignment with their values and how and with whom they want to spend their time, then I think that will bring them closer to other people while staying true to themselves as well.
I believe in that as well, basically. We're down to our last question, actually. And of course, our theme is about growth. And I would like to know, what does growth mean for you?
For me, growth means constant change in how you develop and think, or the things that you believe, to become a stronger or more balanced or better person. So it's, I think, part of the journey in life. Our growth doesn't stop when we become an adult. I think it's a lifelong exercise or practice.
It's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's how I see it, and I think we also all go at our own pace when we grow, or sometimes there's periods, and especially during periods of hardship, that we grow and transform the most. And then there's more of a slowdown where we give ourselves maybe a break. So it comes and goes in waves, I think. But that's what growth means to me. I think it's a personal thing. I think it's also a group thing. I think it's a collective thing, because we grow as humanity. But yeah, it requires a lot of courage and persistence.
Well, I want to ask you also, how does growth pertain to you with your job?
Yeah. So the way that it is that we apply it, and that it is generally applied, is what I mentioned before. We start with the inside out approach. So you start with getting to know yourself better, which means that you can manage yourself better, which also enables you to get to know other people better and understand where they are coming from, and manage your relationships. So that's basically the whole spectrum of emotional intelligence. But how you can grow is predominantly by challenging and stretching yourself. So going out of your comfort zone. I often compare it to breaking in a new pair of shoes. So when you buy a new pair of shoes and you go for a walk with them for the first time, they don't really fit. They might hurt. You might even get a blister. But as you continue walking them, they start to fit, and they fold around your foot, and you don't feel them anymore. And the same is true for learning. It's messy and uncomfortable in the beginning, but it requires a lot of determination to push through and to be brave enough to be bad at something new. But still, so out of your comfort zone, but still with your feet firmly rooted in some safety and security and support. Because otherwise you'll move from the growth to the fear zone, and that will activate your stress response. And then you will not learn anymore, because you will be using defense and coping mechanisms. But that's also why I think people need support when they are going through a growth journey, and a lot of praise and recognition and reflection, because growing comes with making mistakes and failing.
Absolutely.
And as adults, we don't tolerate that as much from each other. Whereas when a kid is trying to walk, they fall all the time, right? And what do we do as adults when they fall? We applaud and we give them praise for their effort and for trying. But once we're adults, we're supposed to be good at something immediately. But that's not how learning and growing works.
Well, I think our society has become it's all about competition. And you can't turn the television set on or see whatever on social media, and it's always about, you can win this, you can win that, this is best this and the best that. And I think that we need to get back to what's best for us as individuals.
And as humans together.
I remember there was a time when people would be a little bit more collaborating with each other. But of course, social media in one way has brought people closer together, but it's also made us more as individuals, because we all live in our own little personal bubble. We have our smartphone. You see people in families sitting with their phones together, and they're sitting at the same table, and no one's communicating with each other. So the communication factor is very important, I think, as a human race, also for growth.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think some degree of competition can be healthy, can be motivating for people. But once it's too much, it can turn any culture or environment into something very toxic. But yeah, it's true that it's gone a bit too far off. Also, in the terms that cultures have been changing from more collective to more individualistic. So I think that's all part of that evolution. Then I've also been seeing some positive elements, that we are going back to a much more humane approach, and in terms of leadership, focusing on purpose-driven and values-based leadership, authentic leadership. There's positive elements to it as well.
Oh, absolutely. So hopefully we've learned from this, because I notice it now, even under my colleagues, people are approaching each other as people are so glad to play music again, or they're so glad to just be around people. So hopefully the value of people will change as well towards each other as a human race.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm optimistic. I hope we don't go back to normal, but that we establish a new normal.
On those words, I'd like to say thank you very much for joining my show. Like I said, wishing you a lot of love and peacefulness and a lot of growth.
Thanks so much, Eddie. Same for you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is My Positive Podcast with Eddie C.
Dear listener, my name is Istvan and I produce Eddie's Positive Podcast. As you might know, Eddie is a professional musician and he's been having a rough time, as many of his colleagues had since this corona outbreak. But Eddie kept being positive and spreading it even in these times. So when he suggested to do a podcast celebrating people who do good things every day, I immediately said yes, because I also believe humanity needs much more of this. If you like, now you can support Eddie. We found a unique way to support the show and the positivity which it helps bring to the people. Each episode features a unique quote which embodies the theme of that particular episode. Via the new phenomenon of Nifties or NFTs, now you can become the sole owner of a quote, which also features his fine photography. So, to support Eddie and the show, click on the link in the show notes or visit mypositivepodcast.com and click on support. All proceeds will go to Eddie to help him keep the show going and growing. Thanks already so much.
This is My Positive Podcast with Eddie C.
Ladies and gentlemen, my second guest is an old buddy of mine. We go way back and we've worked together in France. We've done a lot of festivals together. He's actually an organ player, but also a very intuitive musician in many ways, always looking for new ideas. He's creative. He's an entrepreneur in his own right when it comes down to music. And he's busy with a special study at the university right now for a sort of a PhD, which he'll tell us more about later. Please welcome my second guest, the one and only Mr. Carlo De Wijs. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hi, Eddie. I'm fine, man. Nice to be in your show.
Oh, I'm glad you can join me, buddy. It's been such a long time, man. It's been such a long time. Yeah.
There were days we saw each other almost every day.
Right. Well, back in the days of the swing support, I'll let you tell a little bit more to the audience about that in a bit. Yeah, the last time was with your new project that you're busy with, which we'll also hear about. So since we're on the subject, give us a little bit about your background. How do you, what started you to play organ? Because you're a fantastic organist. I mean, you're a great musician, period. But I know organ is really something that you focused on. And in this day and time with all the synthesizers and all of the samples, an organ is actually an instrument that most people say, oh, that's old folks music, or it was supposed to be in a church. You found a way to make it swing for all kind of ages.
Yeah, originally Lawrence Hammond, the founder of the Hammond organ, he was thinking of having a small instrument to replace the pipe organ. This was in the 30s of last century.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not that old, but I started to play the organ, just the electronic organ, on my 7th birthday. And of course, my brother Matti was already playing the drums.
Mm-hmm.
And my father brought an vinyl LP from Rhoda Scott, the American Hammond player, playing on bare feet. And when I heard his sound, it was immediately, I was like, okay, this is what I have to do for life. So I started on my 12th.
She's awesome, yeah.
And studying the instrument, doing some small gigs, preparing for the first organ, which I could buy on my 15th. And that's where it started. So conservatory, playing in the bands. We met each other, did some great projects, a lot of gigs. I played with Candy Dulfer in the 90s. Steve Lukather.
From Toto.
The guy from Procol Harum. Of course, one of the famous songs is White a Shade of Pale. Gary Brooker. He's the original writer of this song, which was released in 1969 or something. So it's really an old. But I think everybody will know this song when they listen to it.
When they hear it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Education, all kinds of things. So, yeah. That's it.
How did you come about with the Swing Support Project? I remember we spoke about it. I mean, I had the pleasure and honor of being part of that whole project with you. The concept was something that you had actually been toiling with for some time before we actually even met.
Uh-huh. That's right. I always try to make things big. That's something which is in my mind. So this was actually the end exam of the conservatory studies. In 1988, and that was a chance for me to ask really good musicians, a lot of singers, a big band. A lot of those people were playing in the Metropole Orchestra and big bands at that day. So we had, I think, on the end exam, 40 musicians on stage, and there were 900 people in the venue, which didn't know it was a final exam. So that was really nice, and everybody was really enthusiastic about this evening. So I came up with the idea to expound this idea and make a tour with this whole band in the theaters and later on the festivals. And you were part of it. You wrote a lot of lyrics, of course, for the songs I wrote. And so this was really a special project. If I think of it now, I was 23 at that time. I'm not able to repeat this.
Well, you never know, man. You never know. And it could be, after the corona, people are starting to change again. And I got the idea that people are ready to hear live musicians perform again. We've been stuck behind our computer screens and television screens and iPhone and Android screens for the last year and a half. So it's time to get out there and people see people perform again. So you never know what could come out of that. But I mean, you've done quite a few other projects. True. Along with you have a duo that you're working with at the moment.
After this Swing Support, a lot of bands, own projects of other people like Benjamin Herman. I played for more than 10 years in his quartet. But the last decade? Yes, I'm working with a Belgian drummer, Jordi Geuyens, which
he's a very good drummer,
talented guy, and it's a kind of big project, but not with this many musicians, but just with us two and a visual artist, and we try to get this Hammond organ connected to these times where technology and all kinds of new ways of making music is really on an actual basis. So we try to combine where I'm coming from. So jazz and history of music, and he's a young guy and he's into hip hop and drum and bass and all those kinds of dance styles. So we try to connect this to each other, and it's really working well because it's really inspirational.
I saw a premiere of one of your shows, and it was quite awesome with the special effects, with the screen and everything. And I was in awe because I was like, wow, you really did such a great job. But what I also like is the fact that you also promoted some of the younger talent that's coming up in the music scene. And that was great because you're doing that as well.
Yeah. I try to connect this because I think I will become 59 within a week. So one of the things you have to do, I think, as an artist or a human being, is to make the bridge to younger people, because we can learn a lot from them because they have the energy and new ideas. But we are all, also already. Connected to the stages, people know us, the audience is coming. So I think it's really a nice bridge to make between younger people and myself, and there is a lot of talent going on. So I did some. I worked in education at Codarts in Rotterdam, the conservatory, for more than 15 years now, and so you see so many young people who are gifted and talented, and they need the stage as well. So why not?
Well, not only that, you also you've been including your family into the whole project. Your daughter is your promotion manager.
Yes, she did this for 2 years, but now she's got a real job. And marketing factory. So unfortunately, she cannot do this for me. But yes, of course, it's really nice to work together with your daughter. She's really understanding what I try to make or to develop. Yes, but. Okay, now we have to do it ourselves again.
Okay. Are you still playing together with your brother in certain situations? Do you guys still play together?
No, not that often anymore. Sometimes there's a gig coming, and they ask for the old stuff to play. But I'm not really into the old stuff anymore because I really want to develop myself into new styles and new music. So I'm a bit working with the younger generations more and more, which I like. They give me energy and new ideas. And Matti is still doing his thing in his studio, but he's doing all right, musically spoken as well. So,
well, as long as you're both happy doing what you do. You're busy now with a special project, special study in Rotterdam. It's at the University of Rotterdam, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's a PhD study, so doctorate. So I'm working on this for 5 years now. And two more months to go. Then I have to deliver my piece,
your thesis,
to the professors. And after that I have to be in front of them and to promote my project, which is about.
And what is it? Yeah.
It's called the microdynamics of musical innovation. And it's about the history and the future of the Hammond organ, but mostly it's based on the principles of how innovation is coming to us. So you've got several actors, like of course you have people who have the ideas, or the inventors who invent an instrument like the Hammond organ. But
right.
Of course, there are certain circumstances which are important why this invention is becoming a success or not. So it's the society. It's in this case the other musicians who make it famous because they develop certain musical styles like jazz or R&B on the Hammond organ in the past. You had the Second World War in between, and you can think of it. That must be a hard time for the inventor to promote his instrument. On the other hand, after the World War, there was a lot of space for the families in America. They had so more money, so more free space to have hobbies, and so became this Hammond organ a really huge success in the 50s and the 60s. So I'm looking at all those actors which are of influence in all those decades, and so that's the history part. And another part is I did a lot of interviews with musicians, with people from the business, with people in education. I try to develop Hammond education at the conservatory in Rotterdam. And I'm developing a Hammond organ myself, which is the old instrument, but connected to all kinds of modern technology. And this is what I do in the project with Jordi, the drummer, which is called New Hammond Sound Project. So connecting the history to the future, and I'm in the middle of it as an educator, as a developer, as a musician, and as a researcher. So this is mainly the topic I will get my promotion, I hope. And become a doctor, a real doctor.
All right, you'll have a PhD. All right, man.
Yeah.
I was at your place some months ago, shortly before the corona hit us. And I saw your studio where you rebuilt a garage. It's actually a beautiful studio. And a large part of the studio is this gigantic organ with all kind of synthesizers and computers connected to it. It's like something out of a Star Trek movie or something, but it's quite unique. So you're working with different kind of electronic programs with the computer to create the sound. So because you played a little piece for me, and I saw you playing the organ, but at the same time, it sounded like it was a combination of 5 or 6 different sounds mixed together.
Yeah, you're right. So the organ is still the instrument which is providing the data to the computer or to the synthesizers or to the applications I use. So it's still organ based, and I can play as an organ player, as an organist, and feed, but the sound is manipulated through all those technology, and it's coming back into the organ, and that's why you've got this combination of the through Hammond sound and all those manipulations of the sound. And this is really special because it's so new, and I have to learn myself again to play on this instrument, which is a challenge, of course, every day. Now we're making a new record, which was in this lockdown period, so we had to record separately, Jordi and myself, but and we will release it, I think, in the beginning of next year.
Right.
But this will be a really, really special record because it's one big soundtrack, soundscape. Some people who heard some of the tracks, which are they told me, which we indeed are working on. If I close my eyes, I think there's a UFO coming, and it's landing on the Earth, and this is the soundtrack. So I'm really curious about how people will.
Okay. Well, I'm very curious to hear it when it's done, and definitely will keep me informed about that. I got one more question I want to ask you before we close off. Our theme is about growth. I would like to know, what does it mean to you, and how do you see it in your life? Yeah,
it's a really good question, because you can think of it every day, and the answer will be maybe differing every day. But I think mainly for myself, it's about curiosity. So I'm always looking at new ways of exploring myself, learning, reading, listening to other people. And it's not only about music or art, but it's about knowledge, about understanding people, about understanding the world. It's not possible, but sometimes I try to add challenges for yourself, like what I thought about this project, or about the music, or about the instrument, or about the PhD. Those were all things which I could not have thought about in the times we played, you know. So there were always dreams and challenges, and I think it's the most important is to stay healthy, to have the ability to work and to enjoy this all.
Right.
And I think, with this combination of things, together with all the people you know and the people you love and like to be with, this is, I think, all adding to the growth as a person, something like that.
Okay. I've seen you grow over the years, since the days we were, you were in your 20s. I was almost in my 30s at the time. Yeah. And the traveling, and you've done some wonderful work over the years, and you've been a good example for a lot of young musicians coming up. If I talk to certain musicians that are playing keyboards and I mention your name, it's like, oh yeah, he's like one of the legends especially around the organ world. But believe it or not, that's okay. It's nice to hear that your colleagues are, the younger generation can look up to what you're doing. So that's a very good thing.
Yeah, and what I told you, it's both on both sides, because I listen to them as well, and be inspired by the energy and the new ideas and the freshness of how they look at certain new technologies or whatever. So yeah, it never stops. And that's I think this kind of inspiration I would like to share with all people, and we are a bit older, but we are still young inside, I think, and we have to stay that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe old in numbers, but actually we're wiser, and you've been there, so it's very easy to project your experience over to the younger people, and that's a wonderful thing.
That's right. And I think this example of this podcast, Eddie, is a really good example of that as well. So, man, really good initiative.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, man.
I will spread the word.
Okay, fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, and success with your your final study for your PhD. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the new CD when it's ready. We'll get together. Either you're coming to visit me, or I'll come visit you, and we'll listen to it. And when you're performing, of course, I would love to see that as well. By the way, is there a website or that people can come to?
Of course. The central part is on carlodewijs.com. And there is the project with the new Hammond sound. There are some links to YouTube channels, which I talk about the organ and about the instrument, talk about the research. And so if people...
Great. Facebook as well, of course. I'll include your link into the show on the page, so you can...
If they know how to spell my name, they can find me.
All right. You're still there, not hidden, right out there for people to pick up on. Thank you again, Carlo, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And sending my love to you and the family, and because I know they've been a big support to you over the years as well.
Okay, thanks. Absolutely. Really important. Yeah. Hey, good luck with the show, and we will listen to it.
Thank you very much, buddy. You take care of yourself, huh? Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is My Positive Podcast with Eddie C.
Ladies and gentlemen, my third and final guest is a dear friend of mine. And we go back some years ago when we used to make a little bit of music together in her home studio. And she loves the music from Prince, but she's also a very innovative person. Please welcome Miss Anita Ramroochsingh.
Yes, thank you.
How are you doing, my dear?
Well, I'm doing fine. It's quite nice weather, so I can't complain. The sun is shining and everything is okay.
Well, listen, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about your background?
Oh, wow, my background. Well, I was born and raised here in the Netherlands. And my parents were born in Suriname, that's in South America. And my great-great-grandparents were born in India. So my roots are back in India. And I still have family there.
All right. Okay. Yeah, you're coming from northern India, huh? Uttar Pradesh?
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Well, you were born in Holland, of course, but your family is coming from Suriname, but then your roots are in India. So where do you feel most of the bond to?
Wow. Actually, neither one of those countries, and again, all of those countries. Actually, I feel more or less like a citizen of the world. What I say most of the time, if people ask me where I'm from and what I feel the most of, if I feel more with India or Suriname or the Netherlands, it's actually all three of them.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you feel more like a world citizen, sort of like me.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes, like you. Yes. I am from the world.
All righty. Okay. So what are you doing now at the moment? Because it's been such a long time since we spoke to each other. And I'm very glad to have you on the show at the last minute that you decided to come on. It's really nice. So what are some of the things that you're doing now at the moment?
Well, various of things, actually. I'm most of the time busy with guitar play and piano, almost, better and better every day. And I have a little bit of a collaboration. Sorry, you have to forgive me for my pronounce.
You have a collaboration?
Yeah, somebody in America, Pennsylvania, and also a Prince fan.
All right.
And, I'm currently working on the song Anastasia. I don't know if you're familiar with Anastasia.
Right.
And actually I'm quite proud of it. I really copy this song like 101, with every little piece of music, every little sound, every detail I try to put in my cover.
Mm-hmm. Is it going to be released?
Yes, I hope so, because I'm still working at mixing the song and editing, and I have to redo some vocals. Yeah, work in progress.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Outside of your music, you had another job that you're doing? You say you're the one that's paying the main bills, as they say.
Yeah, I work for the government here in Amsterdam, and it pays the bills, yes, and it buys me guitars.
What exactly are you doing?
I'm working for how do you say that in English?
The city government.
Yes.
And which division are you working for?
I'm working for the one who is responsible for that division, actually.
What exactly are you doing there? Can you give us a little bit more detail?
Yes, I'm working for West. It's called Stadsdeel West in Dutch.
Right.
So that's the part of Amsterdam West. Well, it's not really a challenging job, but I did it on purpose because I really choose somewhere in my career. This is not what I want. I don't want to, work. And then I got home and too tired for my music. So
okay,
I figured out, let's choose a job that is more or less a little bit more relaxed, Then I came and when I come home, I have enough energy to do my music, or to pick up the guitar, to just, sit back and play some piano, whatever, That's really working very good for me. I have enough energy left. I take care of the meetings, actually.
Yeah. In your biography, you mentioned about what the big game changer was for you. Can you tell us a bit about that?
The game changer. Well, yes. At a very young age, I made a decision that I really choose for myself. I really made a decision to go my own way and choose for my own safety and my own well-being, because I came from a very much troubled home situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was very young. I was 11, 12 years old when I decided to walk away from home, and didn't really know what to expect and where I could live or stay or whatever, But the only thing I knew was I have to get out of there because,
Wow.
Yes, there was really a big game changer for me. Yeah.
Okay. At a certain point, you found friends where you could stay at, or family, or.
Well, I could live in a home shelter for children. And I stayed there for like 7 years. And at the age of 18, I got my own place.
Okay.
And ever since
Been on your own.
I have control over my own life, actually.
Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, outside of being a big Prince fan, which I know you are, you also write your own music as well.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. When I ran away from home, I didn't have no parents. I had no family. I had nobody like supporting me or be there for me or guiding me or whatsoever. And I started to listen to Prince a whole of a lot and trying to also like listen to his lyrics. And
right.
Maybe it's funny to say, but it was, for me, it was like supportive and helpful and I felt at ease, listening at his music, and I was really very much interested in who this man was. So I was like reading stuff about him, and then one day I stumbled upon an interview, a rare interview with him, where he was telling that he learned himself to play piano and guitar and all kinds of instruments, and I was like, oh, wow, because I didn't have no money, for lessons, and I wanted to play piano, guitar, I wanted to play the drums, I learned everything possible in music, but I didn't have no money. But when I read that...
Well, you're looking at another musician that's done it the same way,
Wow, yes, so it's possible. So when I read that, I was really inspired, and I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And actually, that was all I needed to know. So I picked up the guitar. Actually, my ex, he had a guitar, and I was really eager to try it out. Well,
okay. Your ex got you started actually making music, or you?
Well, he got me kickstarted. He had a keyboard, he had a piano, and that was which was accessible for me, and I was really like eager to learn. And at the beginning, it sounds horrible. I really didn't understand anything about it. And back then we didn't have internet. There was no YouTube, so I had to figure out myself or go to the local library and try to read a book. But practice, and especially remembering which tones or notes were like sounding.
Training the ears is very important.
Yes, training the ears. Yeah. So
you've been busy now quite some time with. Yeah. Does your son also make music as well?
Yes, I have 2 sons actually. And the youngest really he discovered a few years ago GarageBand, from Apple. I had an iPad for my work, and I said, "Hey, listen, this is GarageBand. Try it out," And he was really overexcited and making, I think within a month or something, really great stuff.
Okay.
And then he asked me for his birthday, Mom, can I have Fruity Loops? I was like,
that's another doll.
Yeah. And so I got Fruity Loops for him, and he is truly making great stuff. And sometimes I'm really thinking, oh my God, I'm gray compared to what he is doing.
Well, it's a new generation. See it as new and improved, as they say. That's how you have to look at it.
Yes, and this generation is typical with digital. And I'm really like old school. Give me an instrument and I make music. But he is digital, and he's good. He's really good. But if I ask him to pick up a guitar, he will probably look at me as if he sees water burning.
Okay. He does a lot with loops, but he's not playing the actual instrument, but basically working on his computer with the music.
He's playing a little bit piano. He's getting there.
Okay.
So,
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. But he has great interest in music. And, my other son, he, he has really a great auditive memory. He can hear a song or a background from movies at only one time, just once, and remember how
everything that happened.
Everything, and then he can play it on piano.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So That's great.
Yes.
Any plans to make a sort of family collaboration with you and your sons?
Yes, well, I've asked them several times, but yeah, well, they were in their puberty, and then it's awkward, with mom. So let's wait a few years. Let's wait a few years more.
Okay, that's great. Well, we're coming down to our last question, which is the theme of the show, and that's growth. I would like to know, what does growth mean to you?
Growth. Wow, that's a very beautiful question. Growth means to me embracing changement, and step out of the comfort zone. Dare to step out. I mean, if you don't embrace change, you cannot grow. Simple as that.
Well, on that word, I would like to thank you so much for coming on the show. And I really enjoyed to see and talk to you again. It was a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And nice to see that you're still busy with your music, because I remember back in the day, I told you, said, keep on making that music.
Yes, you told me. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm glad to see that you're still doing that. And then your sons now, they've grown up. They've gotten really big. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So fantastic. And I wish you a lot of success and love in what you do in the future. Keep that growth going. Yeah?
Thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you very much for inviting me for this show. Thank you.
All right. You take good care. A lot of love to you.
Yes. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
This is MPP, and I'm Eddie C.
Well, I really enjoyed all three of my guests this week, as I always do. I want to tell you a little something about what growth means for me. I think it's something about falling and getting back up, standing on your feet, and taking the experiences that you learn. And don't see them as negative, but see them as positive, because you're going to always pick up something from them. It's just like a plant. If you give it water, you give it sun, and a little bit of love and care, then the flowers will come out and the leaves will come out. And every year when they fall, they always grow back again. So on those words, here's my quote.
Growth. Travel and discovery to different cultures and lifestyles. Developing new ways to enjoy and share your skills as you teach others along the way. Showing others how strong they can work as a team to achieve goals for mankind and good positive health. Taking your path to determine your own destiny in life.
Well, that's about it for this week's show, ladies and gentlemen. But before I go, I'd like to thank my three guests, Anke Sunaert, Carlo De Wijs, and Anita Ramroochsingh, for sharing their stories about what growth means to them. And remember, everybody can grow with a little time, a little love, and some positivity. Until next time. You can find me on all platforms like Spotify, Android, and Apple. On Facebook, look for My Positive Podcast, and my website is mypositivepodcast.com. You can also contact me via my website or Facebook. A very special thanks to my technical producer, Iswan. This show is a production by Antwerp Podcast Service. My name is Eddie C., and this was MPP, My Positive Podcast. Tune in next week and stay positive.